Hi, I'm Nancy Paul. I help families fund merit scholarships to pay less for college. I started my company 3 years ago after helping my daughter Rebecca find over $150,000 of merit scholarships that fit her achievements in community service, academics, and other activities. There are all kinds of scholarships. There's some based on academics, community service, my favorite for helping students in so many ways, athletics, cultural, heritage, religion, the first in the family to go to college, career interests, political views, awards, endless. The best thing about any scholarship, merit or need-based, is that the money does not have to be paid back. It's free in that sense, but not free in the terms of how much time, effort, and strategy are required to playing it smart. Merit scholarships are based on achievement rather than financial need, which means that regardless of a family's income or assets, the student can qualify and win money for college that does not have to be paid back. The benefit to private merit scholarships is that they are not tied to any one school. So the student can use that money at a whole range of schools as long as the schools meet their criterion for that scholarship. The benefit to institutional scholarships, while they are tied to one school, they typically cover 4 years, and they're often larger in amount. Need-based aid, which is what most people think of when they think of scholarships, is for students and families that demonstrate financial need according to a specific formula set up by the government. The FAFSA form, F-A-F-S-A, is the form that families fill out, ideally online, which is what FAFSA recommends. It's more secure and you can get aid faster, to help determine if a student qualifies for need-based aid from the government and how much. We do encourage all families, regardless of your financial position, to go ahead and fill out the FAFSA. Just in case, like an insurance policy, if your family's finances were to change for the negative, you'd already be in the system and you could get help faster. You should not have to pay for a FAFSA form though. There's also some scholarships that are, I call hybrids. They have an element of merit to them and they have an element of financial need. So when you're researching scholarships, make sure you know what kind you're looking for. And if there is a financial need component to it, really evaluate that as you're deciding whether it's worth your student's time to fill out that application. I have to tell you though, I do get really frustrated when I attend college knowledge nights and other such events at local high schools, and they focus only on need-based aid, which is important. For a lot of people, that is important. But every family that qualifies for need-based aid also, in my opinion, should be looking at merit aid, money based on achievement. The reality is that more and more families do need help paying for college. Loans are not an attractive option. And it frustrates me when I see students go to a college simply based on price. Now, I do think price is a really important part of finding a best fit school, certainly more long-lasting than Greek system, size of school, location, or football team. Because many years after school, it's the price the family ultimately paid that's going to have the longest impact on their life. But to only pick a school based on cost without trying for scholarships, that really saddens me. So that's one reason I started my company, because after helping my daughter, I then helped other people and was successful at it. And I want to help you too. So here we're going to have a series of videos about scholarships. And I'm going to explain starting at the beginning and working you all the way through. I'm just going to presume that for now, that you're sitting right where I was, overwhelmed, feeling a little bit guilty, confused, and not knowing which way to turn to pay less for my daughter's college education. Before we get into too many specifics about scholarships, how to qualify for them, research them, and apply for them, I want to share some thoughts on how to decide which colleges to put on your student's college list. After all, it's college application season in my house and all over the world. So let's discuss some things that are timely for right now. We'll do scholarships in the next video, or at least scholarships in more detail. It's really important as your student's compiling a list of schools to apply for, and they have reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. I find it really important to put financially safe schools on that list. Schools that your family can afford more easily than other schools. Schools that meet most of the students' criteria and certainly their interest of area of study, and that they'd be willing to go to, but may not be their ideal dream school. But the financial component is what you're looking for in these schools. As as you're evaluating the costs between different schools, in addition to fees, tuition, room and board, and books, also compare schools based on such things as living. For example, San Francisco State has really high cost of living surrounding the school. Emory in Atlanta, one challenge with that school as far as cost goes is that most of the fun apparently happens in Atlanta, which is a taxi ride away and quite costly. So you need to consider things like that. Also, the schools on your students list, will they need a new wardrobe? Is the weather so different than where you live now that a wardrobe budget needs to be part of the equation, which means also transportation costs. I highly recommend families put on their college list schools that are likely to give their student institutional merit aid for attending their school. The trick to that, most simply, is that apply to schools where the student is overqualified in terms of numbers. Numbers meaning the GPA and standardized test scores. Those schools are most likely to give your student money to attend, and that can make a big difference when you're weighing which schools they get accepted to and where they will ultimately go. When looking at institutional aid, also be very mindful. Some schools automatically take every student who they grant acceptance to and they consider them for merit aid. Other schools are set up differently where the student needs to make a special application separate from the admissions application to be considered for merit aid. Also, some schools require that the student apply for admissions by a certain date in order to be considered for merit scholarships. Pay really close attention to this. Speaking of deadlines, which we'll talk about more later, do note that if there's a deadline, an online deadline, some schools are very specific as to what time it needs to be received. So if your student's applying in California and it's midnight, it could make the application late in New York. My big tip on this, and something I'm really passionate about and writing a book on, is to leverage a student's community service to help them figure out what they want to study in college and what they want to do in life. It's a great way to avoid switching college majors, which can be very costly because if a student switches majors, it can mean spending more time in school and delaying graduation. If you have the time, and we're talking about a younger student here, encourage your student to take advanced placement classes in high school, or APs. Passing an AP exam can mean not having to take that class in college, which translates into less college costs. Qualifying for, finding, and applying for merit scholarships does take time. But look at it this way. If your student spends, let's say, 2 hours on an application and were to win $1,000, that's $500 an hour. How many hamburgers or scoops of ice cream does your student have to serve in a restaurant to win that kind of money? My goals in these videos and in my business is to help you save time, reduce stress, and maximize your students' potential for merit scholarships for college. Right now, I'm in the middle of creating a course, Roadmap to College Cash, to share everything I've learned about scholarships, how to qualify for them, find them, and apply for them. I want to know how this can help you the most with your quest for college scholarships. What do you want to know? Is there a format you want to learn it in? And what other information would be helpful on your road to college scholarships? So please, on the bottom of this video, send me a comment, a question, a thought about what would help you on your quest to find college scholarships. And I'll do my very best to answer your question there and include it in Roadmap to College Cash. Also, don't forget to visit 3wishesscholarships.com for all kinds of information on scholarships and your 2 free reports.